Prodigy, the new horror film from recently resurrected Orion Pictures, is the story of a family trying to figure out what's wrong with their son Miles. This film had a lot of potential. When I saw the trailers, I thought it was a pretty neat concept, and one of the best scenes is actually in one of the trailers, the hypnotizing scene with the metronome at the doctor's office. That is a great scene. Unfortunately, the film decides to spoil itself. Within the first 15 minutes, everything you could ever want to know about the film is basically told to you in painfully obvious exposition. And it doesn't help that everything else in the film is spelled out for the audience as if they had no clue what a movie was or how to piece together visual context clues, which is a shame. Right off the bat, though, I have to say that the kid playing Miles is pretty good for his age. He looks maybe about 8 in this picture. He does a pretty good job, and he kind of does a dual role. He plays both a serial killer and an 8-year-old, and he does a really good job. I would go an extra step further and say that the acting of the rest of the cast is pretty solid. I have no problems with any of the actors in this film. My problem comes down to the lazy way that this story is told. Outside of the supernatural stuff and using children to heighten the creepy factor, there is a pretty decent story, but the construction of the film takes the Prodigy from passable horror film to mediocre. On top of that, there are quite a few scares that are just either predictable or unintentionally funny. There's a scene where Miles is doing a Rubik's Cube and his mother walks into the doorway, and very briefly you can see the CGI'd head of the original killer superimposed on his face, and I just laughed. I heard some gasps and some ahs, but I laughed. There's not really a whole lot to talk about with this film. The premise, pretty solid, and under better direction, and I'm gonna assume that there was some studio meddling. Without that, this film would probably have been a lot better. Unfortunately, though, because studios think audiences are stupid, sequences that begin with showing and not telling are suddenly given an ADR line to explain to people what's going on in the scene or what a character's thinking, even though we could have figured it out by ourselves, and it's really unnecessary. There are quite a few jump scares. There are numerous scenes where tension is built and nothing ever comes of it. There's a scene with a babysitter and it just sort of ends. In some sequences with violence, there are a few seconds of just plain black screen. I don't know why. Perhaps it's a visual representation of Miles blacking out and having this other personality take over, but it just felt out of place in a film that otherwise wasn't too stylistic. Overall, The Prodigy is not a terrible film. It's worth at least a watch. Maybe grab a couple of beers with your buddies, pop it on when it comes on Netflix. It's not awful, it's just not as good as it could have been. Hey guys, have you seen The Prodigy? If you have, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. As you can see in this video, I am trying out a different format for my movie reviews, and I think I'm going to stick with this. It was a little bit harder to edit, it took a little bit longer, but ultimately I think it's going to be worth it. It'll give you a little bit of a chance to see my personality outside of just hearing my voice, and hopefully it'll prevent me from getting any kind of copyright strikes in the future. I know in my old videos I used to use a lot of trailer footage, and I got content ID'd by studios, and it's not a bad thing. It's just if I choose to have those videos monetized, any proceeds from those videos will go directly to the studios because I use their footage, which is fair but kind of sucks. I'm just trying to prevent any kind of further mishaps. We all know how YouTube likes to treat its users. If you like this video, be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.